This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
The Mishnah tells us in Meshech Sukkah, Parak Beis, Mishnah Tes, Yardu Geshamim. If rain falls, what is this analogous to? To an Eved Shaba Limzoig Kois Rabbi, to an Eved who comes to dilute the cup of wine, the strong wine of his master, V'shafach Lakitain Alpanav, and the master spills the water back in the face of the Eved. So the Mishnah is telling us that if we don't have the opportunity to sit in the sukkah because of rain, we lose out. We're not able to fulfill the mitzvah, and it's a big loss for Klal Yisrael. So my good friend, Rabbi Vrami Zon, asked me a very compelling question. Okay, we're not able to sit in the sukkah because of the rain, but we're in Eines. It's extenuating circumstances. And doesn't the Gemara tell us in Masechta Brachos, on Daf Vav, Masechta Kedushin, Daf Mem, Chishev Lasos Mitzvah, V'nenas V'layasa, Mala Olav HaKasav Kelo Asaf. If a person wants to do a mitzvah, and he has extenuating circumstances, and he's not able to do the mitzvah, it should be considered as if he did the mitzvah, and it is considered as if he did the mitzvah. And as we said over many times over the years from Rabbi Yonis and Eibeshitz, that actually, in a very important way, if somebody wants to do a mitzvah, and is withheld because of extenuating circumstances, the mitzvah Hashem reckons to the person, the mitzvah Hashem grants the person, is actually considered a much greater mitzvah than the mitzvah the person could have done themselves, because if the person would have done the mitzvah himself, it would have been limited by human shortcoming, and now that Hashem gifts us the mitzvah, Hashem gives us the perfect mitzvah. So why is rain a bad sign on Sukkos? Why do we say rain on Sukkos is a Siman Klala? Just the opposite, it should be a Siman Bracha, because we want to be Mekayim the mitzvah, we're in the Sukkah, and we're not able to. So this was the question my good friend asked me, and we offered the following suggestion, but this morning I see the Meshech Chochma himself asked this question. So first, I would like to share with you the answer that I offered, actually based on a Meshech Chochma in Parshas Emor. The Meshech Chochma in Parshas Emor is on a Tosfos in Rosh Hashanah. Tosfos says that if we don't blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, even due to Eines, it's going to be a bad year. Kol Shana shein toikin b'tchilasa marian loy b'seifa. Any year that we don't blow shofar in the beginning of the year, it's going to be a bad year in the end of the year. And Tosfos says even if a person doesn't blow machmas Eines. Tosfos in Rosh Hashanah Tezayin Amud Beis Derei Hamaschal she'ein loy. Tosfos quotes the Bahag that if there's an Eines and the community doesn't blow shofar, it will still be a bad year. And the Meshech Chochma asks why. Chishev lasos mitzvah v'nenas mala alav kilo asa. And the Meshech Chochma explains, because at the end of the day, if in our court case the Satan is going to show up and we have no tool to confuse him with, because we know that the shofar is the tool which is ma'arbev the Satan, so it doesn't matter why you didn't blow the shofar, the Satan won't be confounded. Says the Meshech Chochma, this is analogous to a sick person who doesn't take medicine. Even if the reason why they don't take medicine is because of extenuating circumstances, but nevertheless, they didn't take the medicine, so by hook or by crook, if you don't take the medicine, you're not going to get better. So the shofar is our medication. The satan is an illness, so to speak. If you don't blow, it doesn't matter if it's not your fault. At the end of the day, you didn't confuse the satan. So we'd like to suggest the same thing by sukkah. Because the Vilna Gaon explains, what is this lashon? It's lamahadava doime, le'eved shabal limzoi kois me rabbi, ve'rabbi shafach loy al panav. What's the analogy that the Eved is coming limzoi kois l'rabbi? You should say he's coming to bring the wine to the master, and the master spills it back in his face. No, but he's not coming to bring the wine, he's coming to bring the mayim. So the Gra explains, we just traversed through Shas Din, or Shana Yom Kippur. And that's compared to Yayin. Yayin is Din. So the Adain has Yayin. And we're coming limzoi kois l'rabbi. We're coming to be mamtik the dinim, to soften the midas hadin with mayim. Mayim is chesed. So if we don't if we're not able to sit in the sukkah, sitting in the sukkah is mamtik midas hadin. If we can't sit in the sukkah, it's like the Eved who's coming to pour water in the wine, and the master says, no, I don't want the water. So too, we're coming to soften Midas Hadin, and Hashem says, well, I don't want you to soften Midas Hadin. I want to continue to employ Midas Hadin. So I would like to suggest, similar to the Meshech Chochma by Shofar, we could say the same thing by Sukkah. This time of the year is a Shas Din. Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Din. Yom Kippur, even Chag HaSukkos, we're Nidoin. But we need to be mamtik the din through the sukkah. So true, maybe we'll get schar for sitting in the sukkah because chishev lasos mitzvah venenas. But we didn't. At the end of the day, we didn't take our medicine. We were not mamtik the dinim. So by hook or by crook, if it's a shas din and we need to be mamtik the dinim by sitting in the sukkah, which is sukkah represents midas hachesed. If we're not zoicha to sit in the sukkah, so the din will continue to be employed. But this morning, interestingly, I saw that the Meshech Chochma himself asked this question in Sefer Shemais on his commentary to the Haftarah of Shabbos Hagadol. And the Meshech Chochma deals with this question regarding shofar as well. And he says a mahalach that applies both for shofar and for sukkah. Namely, Meshech Chochma says, whenever the Torah says, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Rashi says, I am your Adain. And therefore, this mitzvah is specifically requiring us and asking of us to mekabel upon ourselves the adnos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because, says the Meshech Chochma, whenever the Torah says, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, there's a specific chiyuv of kabbalas adnusay shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if at the end of the day you were not makabel the mitzvah, even ba'oinus, you were not makabel the adnos of Hashem, and therefore you cannot get schar. So this is a general rule. The Meshech Chochma says when it says Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Ani Adain Lachem, and if you are not fulfilling the tafkid of showing that I'm your Adain, you're not makabel this benefit. So by the shofar, it says Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Therefore, Tosfos says if you didn't blow even machmas oines, you're not. It's going to be Meiri and Lai B'Soifai. So too, says Meshech Chochma, when it comes to the mitzvah of Sukkah, since it says Ani Hashem Elokeichem, there is a chesaron in being mekabel the adnos of Hashem, and therefore you can't pater yourself with the concept of chishev lasos mitzvah venenas mala olav kilo asa. However, if you look in the drushos of the Chasam Sofer, Krach Aleph, in his drush for Sukkos, Shnas Taf Kuf Yud Pei, on page Memtes, the Chasam Sofer actually says that the premise of the question is correct. That in fact, if somebody wanted to sit in the sukkah and he didn't, it's considered as if he sat in the sukkah and he'll be rewarded as if he did. It says the Chasam Sofer, this is even alluded to in the pasuk. Because why does the pasuk say Basukos Teishvu? And then it says Kol Ezra Yisrael Yeshvu. Why first Teishvu and then Yeshvu? Chasam Sofer explains based on the Gemara in Shabbos and then Vav Amud Beis on the pasuk in Malachim Aleph, Perak Yud Aleph, pasuk Zayin, Oz Yivne Shloimei Bama Lechmoish, that it doesn't mean Shlomo actually built a bama, but he wanted to. Says Chasam Sofer that is indicated because the Yud Yivne implies not something that you should do, but rather something you want to do, but did not come to fruition. But it's considered as if you did it. Therefore, says Chasam Sofer, first the Torah says, Basukas Teishvu, that you should sit in the sukkah. However, even if an oinus happens, that it's too hot or rain, and you can't, Yeshvu Basukos, you should want to. And if you want to, Hashem will consider it as if you did. But this is an interesting subject to ponder, the ramifications of Chishev Lasos Mitzvah, Venenas V'Layasa. Is it always considered Ki'ilu Asa? There are circumstances, no, it's not always considered. If the mitzvah is engendering a certain segula or a certain objective, then the oines may not be Kamanda Asa. For example, by shofar, which is ma'arbev the satan. For example, by sukkah, which is mamtik the dinim. Or, as the Meshech Chochma says, when it says Ani Hashem Elokeichem, or you have to be mekabel al malchus shamayim, it's not sufficient to want to. You have to actually do it. But the Chasam Sofer has a perspective that, in fact, and under all circumstances. Chishev lasois mitzvah venenas mala alav kilo asa. Wishing everyone a chag kosher v'sameach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.